Hello guys, Afi Faisal here from By the Billions and welcome back to another episode of Another Mile, where every mile tells a story. Now, today we are here with Vishant from USJ4X4 Garage. Now, you might be wondering why are we here in a garage today? Because it doesn't look like a garage, but I see a lot of promotional materials. Are we in a garage, Vishant?
Hi, I'm Vishant, the owner of USJ4X4. And yes, we are in a garage, but it's actually my place of unwinding. So it's my office that I've kitted out to help, do whatever hobbies that I want to do. And so if you just ask, are we in a workshop? We are, but this is my happy place.
All right. And I think I'm starting to have, like a feel for this place too. It's becoming my happy place. I think you can convert this to a co-working space too. I see 6 empty chairs, some monitors.
If I wasn't so antisocial, yes.
Well, you're here now. So thank you so much for spending some time with us today. So Vishant, I just wanted to ask you a few questions, right? Yeah. I'm curious, from the moment that I stepped into your workshop, USJ4X4 Garage in Subang Jaya, right?
Yep.
Selangor, Malaysia. I see all the beautiful rigs that is parked out there. Yeah, and I just have to wonder, how did it all start? But before we jump into that, I just wanted to know a little bit about you, Vishant.
Okay.
I don't think as a kid, you wanted to be a mechanic or owning a workshop. You want to be a fireman, police officer, lawyer. I don't know. You tell me. But tell me a little bit about your life.
Okay. I mean to say what I wanted to be, that would be a bit hard. But I always have a nick of playing around with stuff, so I like to take apart things. And this started from very young, 3 years old. I would take apart like Tamiyas and things like that, and not just put it back together like how the manual is supposed to be, but sort of mix and match parts as I put it back. And I was very thankful that I had a dad who was very supportive. Look, we're not rich, but neither are we poor. And he helped me like whatever that I wanted. And even back then, Tamiya was expensive. Right. So he would still, help me out, get it for me, and that's when it grew. But again, being very traditional parents, both my mom and dad, look, you have to do a degree in something, so you can't just be doing nothing. And it wasn't hard for me to do engineering. That's when I did my first degree in mechatronics. And then after, obviously, mechatronics is sort of too broad. I wanted to get I wanted to be more specialized, and that's when I went into my mechanical. But even while then, I still started up something else, a different business as well. Yeah, while studying. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm starting to see the pathway that kind of led you towards owning a garage.
Okay.
But what about 4x4s? How did you get exposed to 4x4s?
Again, my favorite shows when I was young was like MacGyver, and I'm a Mad Max fanatic. So everything that I build or I try to do is sort of like that. And as I grew to come in for the garage, I think the garage came just to solve a problem. But I think maybe we get into that later. But 4x4 camping was something I always did without a car. So I used to go hiking, I would camp, I would just climb anywhere, even alone, and I wanted to push it one step further. And owning the four-wheel drive, my first four-wheel drive, which is a Ford Ranger, was not because of actually for camping, it was for work. So I had to deliver things up north to Ipoh, back and forward, and down to Johor. That's what companies are dealing with. And I needed the four-wheel drive. It wasn't meant to take it camping. But things played out, and yeah, a lot more.
All right, so from the moment that you switched on the transfer case into 4-low, like you felt something spark inside of you?
That's a funny story. I always, the thing is, with the four-wheel drive world, you sort of have to know someone to want to go camping or even go to a different, and we're talking about what? 13 years back, when the Ranger, the new Ranger first came out, was 2012. So that's when I got it, my first four-wheel drive. So that's 13 years ago. And for you to go, you have to know people. And I so happened met a couple of like-minded individuals who owned the same car. And the funny thing was, the friend of mine who called me for it, he didn't show up. The day that we were supposed to go, he didn't show up. So I met a bunch of new people, totally new. I had no idea who to expect. And the one thing beautiful about that, the four-wheel drive industry, I feel, or even just the camping things, is people are so friendly. They accept it. They're like, oh, you're his friend. He always FFKs, right? Like, he will say and he'll never show up. But he's an awesome chap who got me into it, helped me out with some mods as well. that I did at home, and yeah, so that's how I.
Yeah, but that's fine, right? I mean, it's all about the spirit of the community, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
that's
about
right.
helping one another because you never
Yeah,
know
You have to.
when your car breaks down in the trails. You know who you gonna
On the
call?
way there, it doesn't
On-
even have to be on the trails. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the way there, you can have an issue.
All right, yeah, it's just strangers helping out one another, right? But I mean, I think that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful story. So you had your Ford Ranger,
Right.
2012, right?
2012. Yeah.
That was your first
2012.
4x4.
Yeah.
And how did owning a 4x4 for work and then going on camping, your friend, FFKing you, come to you owning USJ 4x4 garage that we have come to know and love today?
I think we have to keep this short, isn't it? We have to keep this podcast short, so I don't want to go the full 9 years with it. But keep in mind, owning a 4x4, even when I got mine, the first one, that was not my first choice. It was sort of a force. I did not want a 3.2 manual car. I wanted the smallest cc I could get. But 2.2 was not, there was no stock. You had to wait a year or two. Look, I didn't know if I could even afford the road tax. If it was 13 years ago, I would have been 20 years old. How? What? Still studying, then trying to run the business. Impossible. So, I was very thankful that things worked out. It played a, like, they say the pieces of puzzle got into its place. So, like for me, from there, when I first wanted to go for the trip, I was so scared. Like, what would happen to the car, and what if something happens, then I have no car? That was my daily driver. What if I go and then something happens? What am I going to do? And at the same time, I was so stuck in this mentality of camping, like how I used to do hiking. All the thing that I put in my car was my camping, hiking bag. And I brought my then girlfriend, now wife, and I told her the same thing. No, you just have to bring your backpack, and that's what's going into the car. And then when we landed up there, we see all these rigs all fitted out. And behind there is like kitchen, there is tables, there is chairs, and all I had was my camping bag in my car, like this big 20-foot car, and all I had was my bag. It was hilarious. People laughed. They're like, "You do realize you can carry a lot more stuff, isn't it? Once you're with forward drive." But I didn't know all that. It was just totally new to me, and I'm so glad I met the right people that were willing to like show me, teach me, and they were patient with me. I didn't know what sound was this making, what was that making. I had no idea. It was a new car, that helped. But the issue was, when you hit a rock or you hit something, you don't know what's happening. And I had a friend, his name is Ben. He doesn't really wheel nowadays. He's a bit and that's the thing, they're all older, the people. So he doesn't really wheel anymore. But he was so patient. He said, so you have to start, Vishant, you have to start learning how to hear sounds between a cluck and a tong. I'm like, both sounds bad. He's like, you'll learn sooner or later. And this was me, totally new, totally nothing, green as ever. Yeah. So I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah.
Not yet, but I think that's a very interesting point. Yeah. So you went to trying to identify the differences between a thunk and a
clunk.
And a clunk.
Yeah.
And then now you can hear a talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Ting, ting,
and
ting,
now
clunk,
I can,
clunk.
like, over the phone, I can sort of make someone can just explain the problem to me, and I can immediately tell you what
you're
is
like,
probably.
there's the
that's
wheel bearing,
correct.
there's the drive shaft, there's the
exactly.
turbo kong.
Yeah, it's come a long way, to be fair with you. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So USJ 4x4, did you start it, or was this something that's always been around?
Look, it wasn't called USJ4x4. So again, did with my Ford plate, I went everywhere. There's plenty of, I will wear places where a double cab should not go. And then I thought, what, I need a car that I can do the harder stuff and the longer, further stuff. So I would talk to a friend and all that. And at that time, I had already known a lot of friends, and they told me, like, look, Vishant, if you want Land Cruiser, that's where you should get into. Buy a Land Cruiser. You can definitely get you somewhere. But of course, I didn't know anything about old cars. Like, every car that I had, a sedan and then my Ford Ranger, were all new or new-ish. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to own a 30-year-old car. And I was like, okay. So at that time, business was already decent for me. My fiber optics business, that was okay. And then so I was like, okay, so what do I do? Okay, so I buy it, get it in from Sabah. That time, that's where you get the cars. Now Semenanjung has, but I got it in from there. And then I was like, a friend said, oh, there is a really good shop here in where we are. There is a shop. I'm going to say names. Those who are old enough would know it. And then they were like, okay, you come here. These guys are awesome. They are from the land of where they do four-wheel drive. So our other neighbors in basically in East Malaysia. So the mechanic was an East Malaysian guy. But it was a very bad experience, man. Got really cheated. Car was not built properly. Parts that I brought in myself wasn't fixed on my car. It was fixed on a different car. You know, then the first time I take it out for trail, I almost died because things were breaking, and
that's
then
bad,
I had the winch rope snap on me because of how they welded it, and it. People say they had a very tough learning curve. I think mine was pretty hard as well with that. So I was so frustrated, but I channeled all that anger. I just came back. I towed the car back. That time the workshop owner was fine. The guy who owns the shop is alright, but he hired a mechanic to look after everything. I told him, you know what? I'm going to build the car myself. Just rent me a small space in the shop where I can build my car. There's one boy they didn't like, and that is So. That has been with me for 11 years now, 11, 12 years. And he and me, just both of us, I would come after work at 6 o'clock in the evening or at 5, and then I would start working with him on my car. He would sleep, and then he would work throughout the night. And I would repeat this routine. And I was very thankful that my girlfriend my wife she'll be pissed if I keep calling her girlfriend, but so she was really, really encouraging. She was, you know what, go for it, and she used to follow camping as well. She said, go for it. If you're building it, go for it. And that's when, our friends slowly saw that what I was doing, how I built it up, and they were like, Vishnu, can you help do a car? Slowly from just renting small slots, I told my friend, you know what, might as well I just take over. It's running a loss anyway, let me just take over. Fired everyone that was under him, and it was just me and So initially, and then I thought to myself, I need someone on board, and that's when I got Leong to come on board. And ever since then, we have been the three musketeers and hammering through, everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful story, man. So
yeah, almost in tears.
me too. But where's the tissues?
Yeah. We got real word wipes so somewhere.
I'll save it for later.
Yeah.
But so for most people, when they have a bad experience with a workshop, they just
Yeah.
simply take the car out and send it to a different workshop.
Correct.
You go to the extreme of owning a workshop and also applying your engineering I would
Correct,
say
yeah.
skills and mindsets to it. I have one question for you.
Yeah.
So when it comes to workshops and owning a classic 4x4 or 4x4s in generals and cars, there's three words that get thrown around. So
Okay.
we have restoration,
Correct.
refurbishing, and
Okay.
Restomod.
Right.
So I want to hear from your perspective. And I know this word has been bastardized to hell in
But
Malaysia.
it's a very touchy
Yeah.
subject though. Yeah.
Yeah,
go
because
on.
Malaysians
Yeah.
they don't even know how to use the word OEM correctly.
Yes. Correct.
Right. So, but
Yeah.
anyway, let's stick to these three words.
Yeah.
What's your perspective?
Okay. Look, for me, it's quite simple. We start with the one that actually not many people would do and do it correctly. Restomod. So a Restomod is something where you take a oldish vehicle, say 30 plus years old, and you actually modernize it by putting in a modern day powertrain and things like that, but still doing it properly. So you still can consider it a proper restoration where everything is brought down to new and things like that. But at the same time, you have to change the powertrain. For me, that's what will make a Restomod. But then restoration, if a real restoration, it starts from the bottom and works all its way on top, and everything is covered. You're talking about wiring, paint, interior, engine, driveline, everything, chassis as well. So people tend to just slap on the paint, do the interior, polish the windows, and say I have a fully restored car. And I'm like, okay, to me that's a refurbish. You refurbished it. You sort of made it look nice, and that's where I feel. But anyhow, look, however way you want to use the word is up to you. And there's no wrong or right. This is just my opinion. For me, it's like there is the meaning to everything. And because if I were to say that I'm restoring, and then another guy is going to say he's restoring as well, I don't think it jives, because how we come up with how the car is and how that car comes out, it's not the same, and that goes to show. So that's why I say the word is sort of very loosely used. Like almost everything, every ad you see online,
Fully restored. Yeah.
I'm like, and then you pop the engine bay and you're like, really? Did you even look at it? There's a leak everywhere. Like, so yeah.
Yeah, like the rubber seals.
Correct. Nothing. It's just nothing. It's just exterior on pictures, taking pictures for Instagram or Facebook or whatever, they look good. And then after that, no. And then it doesn't even drive properly. And then, so how do you go and when you ask someone, hey, why doesn't it drive properly? Oh, it's an old car. That's how they do it. No, they don't. It's just because it was not built correctly.
Yeah, because when you restore it, you're supposed to restore it to back when it first rolled off the showroom, right?
Correct.
Like 30, 40 years ago,
Yeah,
whichever
yeah,
it is. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think the more correct term would be like nut and bolt restoration,
Yeah.
where every minute detail is accounted for.
Correct.
Yeah, where I would say refurbishing to me is like just extending the lifespan of the car by a
Yeah.
few more years. Like
Yeah.
just really quickly here, I just wanted to tell you about this Toyota Starlet that I bought.
Okay.
When I bought it, I knew very well that the owner used the word loosely, fully restored.
Okay.
Okay. Paint job was brand new,
Okay.
but within 4 years of me owning it during COVID, the cement is about 1 centimeter thick.
Yeah.
The paint is all cracked, bubbling. You know, the rust spot is. If I were to show you a can of hub sand crackers and my car,
Yeah.
and ask you what the difference is, the
Yeah.
answer would be none. It's the same thing. They crumble easily, man.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, like, but I did get to enjoy the car for
Yeah.
the very short lifespan that it had before I chickened out, and I just thought to myself, you know what, this is a death trap. You know,
Yeah.
just like the roof Porsche, I'm gonna rename this car the Widowmaker.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still
Okay.
young, you know. But
I mean, probably not
yeah.
fast enough to be the Widowmaker, but sure. I mean, depends what you did with it. So yeah.
Yeah, even driving it at 80 kilometers per hour, that seems really, really fast. All right, Vishant, as I was mentioning before, as we were walking in through your garage to get up to here today into your office and your man cave, your little sanctuary,
Yeah.
I can't help but to notice there's so many different 4x4s in here in various stages of builds. I would say, you know, like I can see clearly some are restoration works, some are Restomods, and some are just, you know, off the chart bonkers, like you're building something crazy here. So previously we just talked about the three terms, right? Restoration, refurbishing, and Restomods.
Okay.
So what kind of service would you say that you are trying to offer to your customers? Like what is your main drive, your main focus?
Okay. What I love would be Restomods, but that's like that's so few that can actually go full on and do and willing to do this V8 swaps, this supercharger swaps. Like there's very few that go there. And then the next one I would do is restorations, like proper restorations, you know, ground up. That's why I call them. I have like 5 stages of what I offer in terms of restoration, and we build towards that. But we always start from the bottom, like bottom literally meaning the axles and that's the drivetrain. That's where we start from, and then we work our way up. Refurbishment, I'm not a fan. So if let's say a client comes over to me and says like, hey, I want to paint my car and do your interior, I see you do a good job. I say sure, but to get there you would have to work on the bottom end of the vehicle first. It's just there's no point having a beautiful car and then putting it on a tow truck. I cannot, especially if people are going to know that it was built here in USJ4X4. The one thing I want to stand by is like Toyota, it's reliable. You know, okay, I don't want to offend any Nissan or Jeep friends, but you know, the Toyota logo where it doesn't break down, and that's what I want to build. So hence why that two services is something I offer, and it can start from at a very low stage, just at the bottom, all the bushings, suspension, and gear sets, bearings, all that done. So that's a stage of restoration as well.
Yeah, but actually that makes sense because what use is a car. If it looks nice, looks good, but it can't drive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. You said it. That's what you said. And it's spot on. What is the use if you cannot drive it? If it's just, that's why I say, if it's just used for taking photograph, then by all means go for it.
All right. Okay, so I was taking a look at your workshop, taking a look around, and typically when I go to a 4x4 shop, you are handed a catalog of parts, right? Bumpers, snorkels, you know, roof racks, and you know, you choose the part that you want, you pay for it, it gets installed, and when you drive off, you notice 10 of the cars in the parking lot with the same exact setup as you do.
Okay.
But I do not see that here. So going from that, I just want to ask you, you know, like you have off-the-shelf parts, and then you have, you know, full-on custom builds, and you know, with your engineering background, I'm sure that you do. You know, you provide uniqueness to your customers, right? Like they can be assured that, you know, this thing is one of one. But why would you do that? And you know, like this is not meant to be offensive or anything. I just want to dig into your mind a little bit.
I will start with the part regarding off-the-shelf items. So for us, we do use off-the-shelf items as a supporting part. So that's why I said I only have very few brands that I carry with me that I would use for whatever that I build. So whether it's ARB or whether it's Penrite, PWR, Davis Craig, so to name a few, and Worth, who does all the other things for me. So why I do it is just the after sales service. for they can provide to me, and hence why I can provide to my customers. But don't like the catalog part. The clients that come to me, they don't just want to pick out from a catalog. They want things to have their own branding, not in the terms of having their name written on it. They want to have their own identity on the vehicle. They want something that is unique, not offered anywhere, and something that will still stand the test of time. That's not easy to achieve, but I like to think, because of my engineering background, so I can do like simulations to see if there's enough strength in the items. I love SolidWorks, that's my go-to, and I would 3D scan a part and see whether it can actually take a beating in the real world. Of course, it's all theory, initially, but at least it's better off than just randomly building and throwing it out there and seeing whether it works or not. So that's something that I try to offer all my clients, and I think they know this. That's hence why they come over. They sort of filter themselves. They know what they want. At the same time, they know what they want to achieve, and these are people who are some of them young and some of them a lot older, that already really saved up big time to put money into this. So yeah.
All right, I'm really curious to know. So I'm just going to give you a little scenario here.
Okay.
So a person has a 4x4, let's
Okay.
say like a brand new Ford Ranger,
Okay.
and because it's a brand new car, you have
Right.
a lot of off-the-shelf parts. You can go to any
Correct.
4x4 accessory dealership.
Yeah.
You could get this bumper, that roof
Right.
rack. But somebody who owns a classic 4x4,
Yeah.
like the LJ78s, the 70 series Prados, for example, you can't find a bumper for that car. So he brings it to you.
Okay.
And I want to say that the difference between you and a 4x4 accessory maker is that they may have full-on R&D team in multiple countries,
Okay.
billions and millions of dollars in research,
Okay.
but you are just one man with an engineering background and a
Yeah.
passion for this.
Okay.
So I want to know your struggles. Like, obviously, I would assume that, like judging by the beautiful cars that you have out here,
Yeah.
that your customer gets what they want. But what is their journey to get them, because like you call the customer when it's done, right? Okay, you can come pick up your car today, it's
Yeah.
done. They pick it up, turn the key, and they drive off. But to get to that point, like what are the struggles that you
So
face?
I tell you this, before even getting to a point where I can call them and get them to come over and pick up the car, actually it's a lot of time spent getting to know them. The way of building a car isn't just the car, it's the person. So most of the time, like take for example the whether it's a Range Rover Classic or the 60 series that I'm currently the latest project that we're doing. The Range Rover Classic, I sort of was fresh. I didn't know the owner. So the thing is, to build a car the owner is going to like. The way to do this is, for me, I feel that you have to get to know the person. See what are his pet peeves, what are things that irritates him, what is it that he likes, why does he want to go to this color, what are his favorite colors, even if you can, his family history, why this car, why start with even that, or what is it going to be used for, all this itself, just even before even building, before even touching the car to dismantle it, you sort of got to know it. And again, the process keeps growing. And I always tell my clients, there is no stupid questions, there's always stupid assumptions. So don't feel afraid to ask, just ask. If you feel that you need to know something, look, I'm the one who should know. So if I don't know the answer to it, then be worried, you probably started at the wrong place. So that's why I try to tell them, and with building the car, it's just with getting to know the individual. So each of the projects are very unique. Every car that you see, it has a mind of its own, because the owners have a mind of their own. Yeah.
Exactly, and the car is pretty much a reflection of the owner's
Owners,
identity,
correct.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think it's really
Yeah.
reassuring to know how you try to delve deep into your clients' like perception and their lifestyle,
Yeah.
because like this is different than exhibit, like from Pima, right? 'Cause he would say like, oh, I heard you like popcorn, so
Yeah.
you put a popcorn machine in your car, like.
But
like
that's a
you,
bit. That's
you take it to another level.
That's a bit too much. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I would assume
Yeah.
that like this guy likes drinking, so I'm gonna put a beer opener
Okay.
integrated into the bumper, for example.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it that way, but I like to be. I think there's a bit more finesse to it. So I don't want to build all this outrageous out there vehicles that don't look pleasant to the eye for everybody. Even if the owner wants it that way, sometimes I have to talk them through it. And that other times is they have to tell me, Vishan, look, I really they give me free will with almost everything, and then they tell me like, Vishan, I really want a bumper this way, like really, really want it this way, and I really want a side step this way. And that's when it's a lot of back and forward. And sometimes I'm like, really, I don't see it happening in my head, because a lot of things are envisioned in your head, and you can only draw so much in the computer. A lot of things are just envisioned in the head or sketched out. And then I'll be like, okay, you know what, let's do it. Let's try it your way and see if it's possible. And then it does. And then it surprises me. And then I learn. And hence why I feel that the best way to build vehicles is just by communicating. Just by sitting down, having a conversation. A lot of customers are no longer customers. They are very good friends. I think you have seen it. You saw a couple who were here just to hang out.
Yeah, just to hang out.
Just to hang out. They already built their car. They're just hanging out. That's what. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really lovely. It really ties in back into the spirit, the strength of the community.
Yeah.
Like it's not just a business transaction, but it's
Yeah.
just one person helping out another.
Yeah.
Like outside of like money exchanging hands.
Correct.
Right. Damn, that's a beautiful story. I think
Yeah.
I'm starting to tear up. So I think we might need those wet wipes
Okay.
coming up real soon. I'm starting to get the idea of is that you are a problem solver, right?
Yeah.
And I would assume
I
that
like to think so. Yeah.
I think so,
I like to think so. I'm a problem solver. Yeah.
Yeah, like real quick, he solved a lot of problems that we have today. The lighting, like my face looks great. Like his face looks great. The AC is perfect. So thank you for
man.
that.
I'm blushing. You can't tell just by the color, but I'm blushing.
Yeah, but like, do you get a lot of cases where customers bring in other workshops problems into your shop?
Of course. And I'm sorry to say, but sometimes I do reject. I do, in the sense that it's not to say I outright say we don't do. I say that, look, I want the industry to change. I say, go back there, tell them your problem. They'll be like, no, I'm just done with it. Like they keep. Then I say, did you really try? Because sometimes it can be a customer's problem as well. It's always a blame game. Oh, the workshop's doing that, and then the customer, and then the workshop will say, no, that was a problematic customer. So for me, to avoid all this, that's why I said, like, I tend to do builds that are fresh, meaning things that are not untouched, vehicles that were, even if they were touched, the customer didn't mind doing back everything. So these are generally the builds that I do. But don't get me wrong, I do have cars that I've problem solved, but it's mainly because the owner is really nice. The person who came to saw me approached really well, and you talk, you see, and then you just see it's genuinely a problem, and they don't mind doing back everything. They just want to find someone that they can trust to do it back. And I feel that that's something I wish I had, but if I had that, I wouldn't have started a shop. You know what I'm saying? If I had,
story,
yeah, exactly. If I had that where someone can solve my problems, someone who is willing to build my car the way I want it, and I would be willing to pay and just get it over and done, rather than I have sleepless nights, thinking on how to do this or how to problem solve that. I would have done that way. But unfortunately, the industry it's sad, it's that way, and being now 10 years plus in, it's still like that. It has not really changed so much. There's so very few shops that would do things correctly and take pride in doing it correctly.
Damn. All right. So how long is the wait list if I were to send my car in here?
Depends. It depends on what you want to do. So the thing is, I tell people like this. There's no such thing as you wait a year or you wait half or you wait 6 months. Look, the build is going to take this long. So let's say you bring it in for stage 1, meaning the underside and things like that. You get done in a month. Actually, some shops will say, no, I need it done in 2 weeks. Sure, but we can't because we do it correctly. So I'm telling you, it's going to take a month. It'll take a month. That is the waiting time. I tend not to say to people like, oh, there's a list, you deposit first and then you pay for it and then you get, no, you just come to me, you inquire. I rather you do it in stages. I'm okay with it, because it helps fill in the gaps. And you need to understand, these big time projects where you see the ones where they're doing massive swaps and things like that, a lot of time we still spend either custom fabricating parts, so that takes time, or either ordering parts from overseas, some of the parts, and it does take time. So between that, we do allocate our time to do a lot of other things as well.
This is old saying, right? The customer is always right. So what do you think about that phrase, in general?
Without sounding too obnoxious or rude, I think a lot of customers, or actually friends who know me after being customers, they know that I'm very direct, and they are direct as well. And that's the only way that I see that you can build something correctly and reliable. You can't just beat around the bush and be like, oh, try to be sweet faced and just because the person's paying you. I can't. I know it's a very bad businessman. I actually lose out a lot of business because of that. But do I feel bad for it? Some days when times are a bit tough, but most of the time, no. I'm okay with it because I don't have headache of dealing with the person. I don't mind having trouble trying to problem solve for a car, but I don't want to have a problem with the person. That's a whole different ball game. I rather try to fix something, a mechanical part, or wiring part, or twin ECUs. I don't mind all that, but rather than have issues with the owner. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying that, as much as a car is a reflection of the owner's identity, their cars are also a reflection of, your handicraft, right? Something is good, oh, this is Vishant's work, but something goes bad, also Vishant's work. Yeah, so you're trying to minimize that, right?
But I don't mind that. So that's why I always tell them, they understand that. So they rather, if let's say there was something that goes wrong with the car, say whatever it is, and every build that we do, we service them. So that we have clients who are 9 years with us, 8 years with us, like they are long term. We have already built the car back then, they still come to us for service, and only service. So we're happy with that, or future upgrades. So or they build another car. But anyhow, for me, it's like you have to sort of go. You have to tell them, look, I don't want to just build your car and then wash hands. I can't do that. So even if the person is being a pain, sometimes customers do transit. People change, so people do sort of transit towards that, and I become also a bit impatient. I think I have to work on my patience level. So I become a bit impatient, and then you sort of have friction. But I don't want to. But I cannot take it out on the car. Anyhow, the car did nothing wrong. So anyhow, the car has to be built correctly, and I take pride, and my guys take pride doing that, and I'm blessed to have them, because even if I'm sometimes pissed off, they will still go and handle it. So yeah.
Yeah, it takes a village, right?
It takes a village. It does.
Yeah, and speaking of a whole village building one car, so like the other day, driving past, I saw this beautiful orange rig that I believe you call Goldilocks, and you seem to have like a theme going on here, right? So something goes on with your car, you don't send to another workshop, you buy the workshop, you roll over your car, you chop it up and build a whole new beast from it. So talk to me about this Goldilocks. Like, how did it start out life as?
So the Goldilocks was the Land Cruiser that I first got. It was the car that that got me into even owning the shop. This was the car that made it. So and the thing is, I named my cars over a lot of Disney characters. So my Ford Ranger is Snow White, my Mazda's Jasmine, and the 40 that I'm building is Mulan. So they all have a meaning to it, like why I named them. So Goldilocks was something that I tried to find a fit. I tried to fit her into a space of the cars that I don't already have. Like, where can I put her in? Then I thought to myself, you know what? I always, when I was young, I always used to play this toy cars, this RC cars. And I wanted to build something that sort of looks like that and can just, wherever you point the head towards, and it would go, but still drive perfectly on the road. I think you drove it. Maybe did you ever get a chance to drive it?
I did, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. So you tell it just handles like a normal car. So, and that's what we try to do. We're not going to tell people like, oh, it's an old car, it's going to handle like that. No, you can actually get it to handle well. That's how you should build a vehicle. You can't just say that just because it is a 30-year-old car, it's going to be bad. No. Hence why I went something of putting in a V12 into it, just to prove that it can be done. And the V12 was from a Century. 5.0 liter V12 Toyota Century, and I'm a type of person where I like to keep it all the same manufacturer. So if it's a Toyota, it remain a Toyota, and if it's like a Nissan or whatever, so registration's easy with the government. In 2016 they changed it. They said that you have to use the manufactured engine. So that's why we do that. So all the cars that we do, we try to make them. Obviously for Goldilocks, it's a bit on the side whether it's road legal or not. But then again, it's road tax is paid for, everything is, insurance is there, and things like that. And it spends most of the time in trails. So that was my build, my toy that I wanted to fit in somewhere. Hence why Goldilocks was born that way. Yeah.
Right, and I think it's a beautiful car. And I think if the car had a conscience, like
Yeah.
never in a million years, it would ever envision itself to be
Yeah, definitely.
rebirthed into this. Like it probably started on life. It has Sabah plates, right?
Yeah,
So
it still has Sabah plates.
you know,
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
construction sites.
Correct. I was carrying logs at the back.
Yeah.
It was you know it when I got it, the tailgates were all loose, and basically what they did was they load in timbers into the back, and that's what they was used for. It was just used to ferry it around. That's how I got my car.
So it went from ferrying around, timber, fallen kayu chengal, like logs and all that,
Yeah.
to having the same engine that ferried, like dignitaries, heads of
Yes.
states,
Yeah.
foreign envoys from, the Narita airport to
Yeah.
Himeji Castle.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. And you
Yeah.
chose a V12 swap. Normally for a Land Cruiser, right, they choose run of the mill.
Yeah, V8s
swap,
are- yeah, V8s are
1KZ.
common. Correct.
Yeah, but you went for the Daimyo, V12 1GZ, right?
Yeah,
If I'm
1GZ,
correct?
1GZ FE. So again, it's something that I was following all the while. This is pre-COVID. So I actually went there. I traveled to Japan. I always had the idea of wanting a V12 in any car. I wasn't thinking so much about this car, but in any car I wanted a V12, and I knew that Toyota ever made only one V12, and it was for this. Went over to Japan, I went to a half car shop, and the car was there. It was a scrap car that was fully rusted out, so I could still drive it. I was like, oh, I love this thing. It was so comfortable, side up, the sound when it purrs. And I told the guy, can you sell it? Does it sell? And he'll bring it back. He's like, no, I'm not selling it. It's my personal collection. Okay, you have to keep in mind, there's only like 6,000 of these vehicles made.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty rare. And then I was like, you know what? Forget it. COVID hit. And then this guy calls me up and he says, do you want it? I'm like, yeah, but a lot cheaper than what I offered before. And then that's how, it came in. And this was only possible, this project was only possible because of getting in a full car. Only then I could reverse engineer. You need to understand, this vehicle had something where they call, it's before CAN bus, so it's multiplex. And documentation on it is very little. Look, it was only meant for the JDM market. So again, it was very hard to source for things. There is a manual available. Everything had to be reverse engineered. I don't want to put in the entire harness into my vehicle. It's just a wrong way of doing a Restomod. So, everything, and it runs twin ECUs, just so that one bank fails, it still runs on 6 cylinders. So I had to figure that out and everything. And it was a very steep learning curve. But, after it was done, I felt like I could conquer the world. After getting that done, it's like, what else? Bring it on. So after that is now just finding the next thing that tickles my funny bone, to find the next fun thing that is,
So what's
out
bigger
there.
than the V12?
Sorry?
What's bigger than the V12? Like,
What's bigger than
what-
V12?
what
I don't think it's anymore going to be engine. It's going to be innovating, doing something really different. I do have to finish up my 40 that you saw, my 40 series. But yeah, the next thing would be I haven't played with the V10 yet. And I would want to play either with a V10 or V12 diesel. So again, you will know the V12 diesel is very rare. It's made for the Volkswagen. It will again be a car that is very hard to register because we have this. The MROC isn't the best four-wheel drive to put a V12 in. So I'm not a fan of the MROC anyway. So we will see. We will see when the time comes what's the next best thing. But something is in the books for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, I think we have quite a lot of built up anticipation for whatever's
Yeah.
coming next from Vishant at USJ4X4 Garage.
Yeah.
By the way, the V12 is for sale.
Yeah, it is. It is for sale now. For you to grow, for you to have something new, you have to get rid of something, and I think it's time for me to let go, to move on, to try to build something else. So yeah, it's for sale. Yeah.
All right, Vishant, I'm going to give you the next 30 seconds to just pitch to any potential buyers of for Goldilocks. Yeah, like
I don't need 30 seconds. It's a V12 in a Land Cruiser 60 series. Try to beat that.
and there we have it.
There's nothing. It's a V12 in a Land Cruiser 60 series. Runs and drives lovely. That's AC. It's everything.
Aircon sejuk.
Yeah, aircon sejuk.
Yeah, condition. No. Very good condition. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
say as somebody who's had the pleasure of driving it for
Not many
short
people have
stint.
actually.
Yeah, 30
Yeah,
seconds
not many people.
around the traffic light, U-turn
Yeah.
and back. And initially, I was a bit hesitant to drive it, because of the sheer size and monstrosity of the truck, it looks like a monster truck, right? And I'm
Okay.
like, I'm gonna run over pedestrians.
Yeah, we don't want to offend the Americans. It's not a truck. It's a four-wheel drive. It's a Land Cruiser. They are like, oh, trucks. It's not a F-250 or something.
Yeah, before the Americans see this.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank God our I think
Yeah, but metrics still
90%
rule
Malaysians.
over
Yeah.
April. So, so yeah, go on.
No, I think we quickly looked at our like algorithm statistics, and 90% of viewers are Malaysians. Very few, if any, Americans.
You never know.
So,
You never know.
We never know at some point,
Yeah.
but just to cover our asses, when
Yeah.
it comes to that point. But yeah, beautiful. What's the asking price for it?
I think I listed it at 70,000 US. I think it's a very fair price for the one of work. If you try to build something like that, there's no way you're going to get it at that price. There's chrome moly shafts in the front, chrome moly shafts in the rear, Yukon gears in the front, rear, ARB lockers front, rear. Like the amount of things that are in that car, I can't list it out. And it dynoed. I think the day when I dynoed it, it did what 270 wheel on 37-inch tires.
Oh, that's nuts.
That's nuts. That's crazy. So the what it was supposed to do was, if factory, you see, it's supposed to be 290, but obviously because it's actually a 300 over horse car, they gentleman's agreement, and then they bring it down and things like that. So it's lovely. Yeah. I there's nothing for me to say besides it drives like a car, and that's very hard to achieve with something that has been so customized.
Yeah, I would agree so.
Yeah.
And somehow I'm getting the feeling that you seem a little bit sad, when we were talking about selling your
Yeah,
car.
of
This is your
course.
pride and
Yeah,
joy,
of
right?
course,
This
of
is your
course,
baby.
yeah.
This car is like a mascot, the poster child for USJ 4x4. So if this car gets matched with a new owner who's going to
Yeah.
take care of it, what's next?
Yeah, I have my 40 series.
Your
that
40 series?
Yeah, the 40 series. I think it all comes back to that, because people assume that I bought the 40 series now. No, I bought it 9 years ago. So people think that all this thing gets built fast, especially your own car. It takes time. And for me, just to gather the parts. But the 40 series is special. It's a combination. It's a work together with all the brands that I believe in. So all the brands that I use until today with me, these are the guys who have come on board. So for suspension, we have Pedis, we have ARB from Australia, the Australian side sponsor as well. So this is a car that this would be if you say mascot, this would be the mascot of carrying all the brands that we believe in and we use on even our customers' vehicles. Yeah.
Right, and I think that's a beautiful way to just sum up the journey of not just USJ4x4, but I guess your personal journey as well.
Yeah.
Like this is not just a car, it's not just a shop, this is not just a person, but this is a story about passion, persistence, determination, and true grit.
Yeah, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning.
I'm still learning. All right.
Yeah.
What can I teach you today?
You did teach me that you felt like you drove it for 30 seconds. It must be a really quick V12. You do.
Super fast. Yeah. I can't say how fast I was going, but it's not that fast. There was a red light and pedestrians crossing.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but it did feel like a car. And I
Yes.
think like as somebody who drives 4x4s and on a daily basis, that is what I'm trying to achieve here. And sometimes I get close to that, but it does not feel the same.
Okay.
I still feel limitations. I still feel hindrance. And
Yeah.
like even doing something as simple as going to the shopping mall, I get scared and nervous. I'm like, is my car going to fit? Am I going to scratch something up? Or, the turning radius, can I make this U-turn? But your car turning radius is perfect.
Perfect. Yeah.
For a car that's like twice the size
It
of
helps
mine.
when you engineer things with proper geometry, and you actually calculate things. Then things are good.
All right. Yeah. Vishant, thank you so much, man. So I think just to quickly recap, you take the time to understand not just the cars, but the owner.
owners.
And I think that is a really wonderful thing, a wonderful way not just to sell your services, but also how to sell, like the way you communicate with your clients, right? Because they're not just a walking dollar sign above their heads, there are people too, like they share the same passion and hobbies as you do. The only
It's
thing
hard-earned money.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it comes down to they earn their keep. This is things that they have compiled that they want to do, and obviously I'm honored to be able to provide them a platform where they can actually build something that they always wanted to. I said I wish I had that, but then again I wouldn't have started USJ4x4 if I had that. Yeah.
Here you are now.
Yeah, I'm now.
Exactly. But you know, I think if you could choose one motto for your shop, right? Like something like build it once, build it right,
Okay.
along those lines, what would it be?
I mean, I think those who follow would always know. I always say, do it once, do it right. And I really live by that because after we build the car, I always tell the clients, the only thing you have to do is come back for a service. And I really do genuinely like to believe that. And it does happen. You know, I see my guys, you know, my friends going, they drive like 10,000 over kilometers, you know, and then they just come back for a service. So they've been going around and they come back, and some of them clock 20,000 kilometers in a year. And this is on a 35-year-old car. But it's no longer 35-year-old. Obviously, we have completely redone it.
Yeah,
So yeah, do it once.
Let me
do it
guess, these are Toyotas?
Yeah, these are Toyotas.
All right. You know the saying, right? You've heard this saying, you know, a Land Rover could get you, you know, anywhere you want to be, but a Toyota will make
Get
it
you
back
back.
home.
Yeah, there is a saying. I'm sorry, but I'm building a Range Rover Classic, and it's for a fantastic owner. You know, someone who really knows what he wants, and he gave me the free will to pick powertrain. There's a supercharger going in that, a 4.2 supercharger from a Range Rover Sport. We are aiming for 400 horse on wheel.
Wait, is that what's that
The
the
green-
chassis that's sitting outside?
No, the
Yeah.
green one. The
Yeah,
one.
the
in
green one. Yeah,
green
but
one.
the power plant.
The power plant, yeah, it's just the Range Rover Sport that is outside.
In my mind, that's still like a brand new vehicle.
It is a brand new
It's
vehicle.
just sitting
so
out
it's
there.
it's a relatively, it was a 2010 vehicle that we just bought to take its powertrain.
And put it into an older
Yeah,
generation
yeah,
Range Rover.
a lot older.
Oh, that's crazy. And I think this is just part of what we can expect from Vishant at USJ 4x4 Garage. And if you guys made it this far, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to follow Vishant at USJ 4x4 Garage on all of his socials to check out his crazy builds. You don't mind if people just drop by for a quick chat. Just take a look.
To be fair with you, people do come by to just look around. Of course, we can't always entertain them, and it's also privacy to our other customers who come by as well. Hence why I always say most of the time to meet me would be by appointment, because all these cars, like I say, communicating. So I actually meet up with the owners quite often. So they actually come by relatively often just for a chat, just to know what's going on, where have they been, what have they seen, what do they want now. So yeah, do come by, do feel free to come by, but please don't feel offended if we don't have the time to show you around. But feel free, to look around at whatever you guys want to see and probably get some ideas.
All right, so
Yeah.
I have a lot of ideas, not enough money, so
Slowly,
I'll come back here in like 10 years.
Sikit, lama-lama jadi
Yeah.
bukit. That's
You
what
used to
they
be
say,
open
isn't it?
10 years, right? I'll come back. Yeah. Not today, not tomorrow, but 10
Yeah.
years, I'll come back.
Okay.
All right, this is Afik here with Vishant from USJ4X4. Thank you guys so much for watching once again. It would really mean a lot to us if you would like, share, and follow us on all of our social medias so we can continue to deliver more engaging content just for you. And if you have any ideas or whatever, drop them down in the comments below. So, another mile, another journey. I can't wait for what 2025 has to offer for me and for you guys. So, until then, take care. Afik here from By the Billions. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me, man.
Right. Thank you, Vishant.